Good morning. Who's on? Hello? Hello? You need to stick your mic on. Let's get a haircut this weekend as well. It's getting a bit bushy. Hello?
Hello?
Hi,
Hello?
is that Daniel? Is that Daniel?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, superb. Right, I'm going to carry on from Monday. I'm going to look at how you actually put a question together. Yeah. It'll be more clearer. I mean, we outlined it on Monday, but this will be a more clearer thing of what you need to do. Yeah. So I'll close chat for now, and we can hear each other. And I'll bring up. Where have you gone? Oops, no, it's not. Put that down a minute. Here we are. So I'm going to look at a little bit of the LO2 this one. This is about academic research and writing, and it to be conducted, how to conduct a literature review. And this is important because people get mixed up with the review and the question. So this, I hope, will clarify some of that. So yeah, defining, it doesn't have to be marketing. I mean, this is just an example. Marketing, forget that. It can be defining a research problem and developing an approach. This PowerPoint is just use marketing as an example, that's all. But it applies to the way you actually attack the problem. The overview we did on Monday. So the importance of defining a problem, the process of defining a problem, and developing an approach to it. The tasks involved in problem definition, discussions with decision makers, interviews with industry experts, secondary data. I mentioned secondary data on Monday. Will clear it again, and what qualitative research is. So those are what we're going to look at today. So when you're looking at a problem, you're looking at past information and forecasts to find out what sort of problems exist, what sort of resources you've got, and constraints of those resources. This could be any sort of research costs money, so a budget will have to be developed for that particular purpose. What the objectives are. In this case, it's looking at buyer behaviour. The legal environment, what you've got to look at from a legal point of view, and the economic environment is the work you're going to do going to be acceptable within the specific economic environment within the country that you're operating. What the technological skills are that's required, and any management decision problems. So defining, how do we define this? We look at the objectives of on theoretical foundations, We look at an analytical model. We develop research questions. Sometimes we'll develop a hypothesis, but not always. And then a specification of what sort of information is needed. And the ethics involved in it. Oops, go back to there. 12 doesn't really apply to us because Burke is a specialist in marketing, so that is irrelevant here. Once you've done the review, then you need to do a summary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this bit is probably better. It'll do it better. It's giving an example of how this occurs. So, I mean, you can read this for yourself, but I'll go through it. It's saying that one day he received a call from a research analyst who had introduced himself as one of his alumni that he was at college with. He was working for a restaurant chain in town and wanted help in analysing the data he had collected while conducting a market research study. When we met, he presented me with a copy of the questionnaire and asked how we should analyse the data. My first question to him was, what is the problem being addressed? He looked perplexed, and I explained that data analysis is not an independent exercise. It has to have a goal. Yeah, there must be a reason for collecting the information. So you've got to provide information related to the problem and its components. So at this point, if you mention on Monday, it can be an issue of viewer choice. Have you actually had a think about what you're going to use yet as a research problem?
Mm-hmm.
Is it something you've actually thought about yet?
Sorry?
Sorry?
I don't understand.
Right. We're going to conduct some research. If you remember on Monday, we said that we had to devise a problem in a specific area. Like I've said, this is just an example. This is marketing, but it doesn't have to be marketing. It can be anything else. If you remember, I mentioned communication. It could be a communications audit to find out the best ways of communicating within a certain organisation. It could be anything of that nature that you want to find out if it's working properly and what you can do to improve it. So you've got to decide on a research question that something that you're going to research for a particular reason, and that's what it's saying here. You need to provide information related to the problem components. What is the problem that you want to try and solve? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, he was surprised to learn that he did not have a clear understanding of the marketing research problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said before, this is an example, so forget the marketing, just say the research problem. So it's something that you want to research, something that you know something about, yeah, and you want to research it to find out if it can be improved or made better, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what that written definition didn't exist, therefore, going any further, I had to define. Oops, I'll make that clearer. Define the marketing research problem, or define the research problem. So once that was done, once he found that was done, he found that much of the data that he'd already collected wasn't relevant to the problem. So you can't put the cart in front of the horse. You've got to work the right way around. So you've got to define the problem first and say what you're trying to achieve. It's then that you start to collect or do reading on the subject. So you've got to provide a data review of the reading to determine what's been said before about it and what you can then add to it. The whole study that he'd already done in this case was a waste of time and of resources, because a new study then had to be designed to address the problem that he'd now defined. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, problem definition process. Have a discussion with people involved. interview with experts on it that you might find out. Secondary data analysis. If you remember, I've said this is how you gather information from people who have written something about it before. So that's why you conduct your literary review. There's qualitative research and there is quantitative research. Qualitative research is defining very closely what you want to achieve and having a minimum number of questions about it, but quality questions so that you get the right result. Quantitative is, on the other hand, lots of information of a less important manner that will give you an overall picture. So jumping again. So you've got to look at the environmental context of the problem, right? Is it a management decision problem or is it a marketing problem in this case? What is your approach? Is it going to be look at the theoretical foundations of it? Are you going to look at analytical, or that model will have verbal results or graphics, or using mathematical equations to determine the percentage of correctness or not? And then you need to put up, specification of the information needed. Yeah. At that point, you can then start to design how your research is going to be achieved. So, in a nutshell, that's discussions with people that already know about the problem, interviews with any experts, secondary data analysis or your literary review, and then the research that you're going to do yourself, which is primary research data. The problem audit is a comprehensive examination of a problem with the purpose of understanding its origin and its nature. I gave an example on Monday of this wasn't exactly marketing, but it was partially involved in it. There were a number of people that were moving towards, in a company, putting their goods and services online. What they were finding was that people were going online, they were hovering over their information, but they weren't actually making a decision to buy. And what their problem was is why these people were coming onto the site, looking at what they had to offer, and then not actually making a purchase. So there must have been some problem in there that was preventing them from doing that. So their research was all about trying to find out the behaviour of buyers online and why they didn't make the decision to buy online. It could have been like the website was no good; it was too difficult to use for the ordinary user. There are all sorts of things that when you work online, you need to be aware of and to find out about. So that was an example of a research problem. The criteria that will be used to evaluate the alternative courses of action. In other words, what will you do if you find out that there needs to be a change? Yeah. And the potential actions have to be suggested really based on the research findings. So the information that is needed to answer his friend's question and the manner in which his friend will use each of the items or information for making that decision. And again, it's the corporate culture within the company as well, or organisation, that relates to its decision making. These are the 7 C's of interaction. So when you're doing research, you need good communication. You need to get the cooperation of the people involved and gain their confidence. You must be honest. and you must have a closeness to them to find out exactly what they want or what they need. There should be some sort of continuity to back up why you are doing the research and showing them what the responses will do, yeah, or what the effect those responses will have, right? And then finally, you've got to be a bit creative sometimes in the way you ask questions, because some questions on some subjects could be a little bit, shall I say, precious. People might not want to give certain information away. That is why you've got to gain their confidence. Be perfectly honest with what you're doing, yeah, so that you get the right response from the people you are asking. So you're looking at past information, the reading you've done, what the resources you've got, what your objectives are. In this case, they're looking at buyer behaviour, the legal environment and the economic environment, and the marketing and technological skills. Management decision problem versus research problem. Management decision, should a new product be introduced? Marketing problem, to determine what consumers want and purchase intentions for the proposed new product. So the two different things, yeah. So marketing research has got to provide answers to that before they could make a decision on this one here. Should the advertising campaign be changed to determine the effectiveness of current advertising or the current advertising campaign? So the research they would do is that working? Are people looking at it, or is it not effective? Should the price of the brand be increased to determine the price elasticity of demand and the impact on sales and profit of various levels and price changes? So the research problems are here, and depending on the result of those that research, the management decisions will be about these things here.
Okay.
So the marketing, or in this case, the research problem will need a broad statement of what you're trying to achieve, and then the specific components of actually how your research is going to be brought together. An example again is a department store project. The marketing research problem is to determine the relative strengths and weaknesses of Sears, which is an American store, against its other major competitors with respect to factors that influence who the store customers. Specifically, research should provide information on the following questions. What criteria do households use when selecting which department store to use? How do households evaluate Sears and competing stores in terms of choice criteria identified in question 1? Yeah. Which stores are patronised when shopping for specific product categories? What is the market share of Sears and its competitors for specific product categories? What is the demographic and psychological profile of the customers of Sears? And does it differ from the profile of customers in their competition? Can store patronage and preference be explained in terms of evaluation and customer characteristics? So those are 6 questions that can be asked as an example in a department store to find out, is it functioning well against its competitors? But again, this is just an example. It doesn't need to be, how can I explain it? It doesn't need to be a big organisation. It can be a small operation that just needed some further information. Probably the first suggestion I made to you on Monday was that look at the way communications operate within a small company, how they communicate with customers, how they communicate with each other, and it can be much done on a much smaller scale. It doesn't have to be a big organisation that you're dealing with. Your objective, what model you're going to use to analyse it, what research questions you then prepare, what the hypotheses are, and specification of the information that you're going to need. Because if you're going to ask people questions about a subject to find out the information you need, those questions have to be worded very carefully. An analytical model is a set of variables and their interrelationships designed to represent the whole or in part some real system or process. This is why I said it can be a small communications audit within a company. It doesn't need to be, you know, a massive operation. I'm actually going to move. I'm going to bring that down now. Yeah, we're going to move to this one to actually go over this now. I mentioned some of this on, you know, Unit 3, we did Unit 3 last time. I looked at well, I mentioned the Harvard referencing on there. I'm just going to go over that again on here because it does mention it on here, on this program, that you need to put that in. So I'm going to go over how that operates again, just to make sure that you are fully aware of what you need to do with regard to referencing the material that you read from.
Okay.
Whatever book you read, you need the author's or the editor's name or names, the year the book was published, the title of the book, and if it is an edition other than the first edition, the edition number, where the book was published, and the name of the publisher. That's if you when you're recording your reference. For journal articles, the record should be the author's name or names, the year in which the journal was published, the title of the article, the title of the journal itself, the page numbers of the article in the journal, and as much other information you can find out about the journal, perhaps the volume or the number of people that actually read it. It could be a very small volume operation or it could be a very large one. Any electronic resources, you try to collect the information on the left if it is available, but also record the day you access the source, the electronic address of the, or email, the type of electronic resource. It could be an organisation's page, a web page, so it would be www page, etc. So whenever you use someone else's ideas, you should put in a reference, direct quotations, out paraphrasing. You can use direct quotations and just put the name of the person that you are quoting from within the text. The difference between paraphrasing and direct quotes. Direct quotes, you're using exactly the same word in the exact same format. Oops. In paraphrasing, you use your own words to explain the writer's viewpoint. And if you remember on Monday, I said the best way of doing this that I've found is to make some notes from the writing itself and then write your piece off your notes rather than from the actual piece itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always put direct quotes in inverted commas, so you'll have those at the beginning of each quote. So almost everything needs to be referenced. The only exception is when information you have read somewhere is common knowledge or is in the public domain. For example, you would not need to include a reference if you stated that an assignment that Shakespeare wrote plays and sonnets in Elizabethan times. Everybody knows that, so you wouldn't have to put that in. Put that up a minute. So a summary of writer's ideas in your words, you can then write Phillips 1999, for instance, suggests that general change is inevitable and continuous. Using direct words of the writer when organising our time, ATHE 1988-51 states that the centre, inverted commas again, the centrepiece will tend to be goals and objectives. Yeah. Or, keep over jumping. When organising our time, inverted commas, the centrepiece will tend to be goals and objectives. ATHE 1988-51. So it doesn't matter where you put it. You can put it in the middle, you can put it at the beginning, or you can put it at the end. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever, as long as it's there. If you're using two authors, then you will have two names and when it was. Yeah. Insist that with presentation, structure must be clear and precise. So again, your inverted commas there. Yeah. Or with presentations, structure must be clear and precise, and then again it goes in afterwards. So it doesn't really matter. Either way will do. Oops. Direct quote from three authors. Put the three names in, and then when it was and what page it is. Suggest that when emotional issues cloud negotiation. So that's your words, and then you go to the quote. Inverted commas, some thoughts are best left unsaid. Inverted commas. Yeah. Again, it doesn't work. It works just the other way around. It doesn't matter which way you do it, whether you put it at the beginning or at the end. If it's more than three authors, you've got a number of authors that you're going to come. It's actually a piece of Latin. Yeah. You can put Morris, who is the lead writer, and then just et al, which means and everybody else in Latin, but it's used throughout in referencing et al. So if it's lots of different authors on a particular subject that you're quoting from, then that. State that again. Inverted commas, the debate for these particular issues should be left to representative committees. And again, it can work the other way. You can put the statement first and then you can add it afterwards. It doesn't really matter. Oops. All the sources you refer to in the main body of your assignment need to be listed at the end of the assignment in a reference list. Yeah. In a reference list, you only need to list those sources from which you have either quoted or paraphrased. For example, you don't have to list books that you've used for background reading purposes and not actually put anything in from them. That you don't have to put those in. If you were doing a degree, for example, and your tutor had insisted that you needed to do something called a bibliography, right, which I've put up here, then you would need to add those books as well. But for our purposes, yeah, when you're doing a reference, you just need a reference list of the books you've actually used in your research. Try to list them alphabetically by author's surname. Should be left justified. References should never be preceded by bullets or a number. Always listed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All sources should be listed together. There shouldn't be a separate list of books, journals, articles, or electronic resources. They all go together. You don't have to separate them out. Mm-hmm. And it should be on a separate page from the rest of your assignment. Yeah. So when you've got 2 or 3 pages of assignment, the reference should be on a separate page at the end. Okay. Yeah. I've mentioned bibliography. We don't need to do that one. So the format, author's name, last name, or initial, the year, the book name, the subtitle of the book, the place it was published, and the publisher. This is your reference list. You only have to use those earlier ones we looked at, these, in your script, when you're actually using them in your script yourself, yeah. But when you put in the reference list at the end, yeah, all the sources should be listed on alphabetically, and we didn't miss that one, right? In the reference list, author's name, initial, year, book name, subtitle book, and workplace it was published, and the publisher, yeah. An example of referencing: book with one author, ATHE, effective time management, how to save time and spend it wisely, London, Pan Books. Yeah, 2 authors, he just adds that one in, and it's done exactly the same way. Yeah. 3 authors, it will list them: Fisher, Urey, Patton. Getting ways to yes, negotiation agreement with 20th century in the 2nd edition, London, Century Business. If it's a 2nd edition, then say so. Study for Degrees, 2nd edition. Yeah, London, Routledge. Oops, jump. Any books about the same author in the same year, you would have to differentiate there with A and B. Yeah, so you got Napier A, 1993, Fatal Storm, Sydney, Allen and Ullman, Napier A, 1993, B, Survival at Sea, Sydney, Allen and Ullman. So you would have to separate the 2. If there were 2 separate books, you'd have to just list them as A and B. Yeah. Book with an editor. Daniel P. Editor, you will put ED in brackets like that, just to denote that was an editor, not the actual writer. Yeah. Beyond the Ferrisfield, Rockhampton, CQP Press. So that would finish it off. The conventions for listing journal articles are similar to books, but with some extra information. What you tend to find is that you'll put in Muller v. 84, chapter in the body, the law, sexual identity, the Australian Feminist Law Journal, volume 3, August, pages 103 to 107. So in the journal, you've got to put exactly where it was in the journal, yeah, that you've looked at. You okay with that?
Yes. Okay.
Oops, jumped again. In this example, Muller has written the journal article Trapped Inside the Body, the law, sexual identity, and it has appeared in the journal, the Australian Feminist Law Journal, and its 3rd volume, and it was published in August of 1994. The article appears on pages 103 and 107 of the journal. So that is saying that. Yeah. You don't have to write all that, you just need to put it in that format like that. Yeah?
Yes, okay.
So, let's go and do a little bit of a recap now. I'm going to go back to, I'm not doing a second. I'm not. Well, all right then, I made some changes apparently. So, right, okay. I'm going to go back to Unit 1. So I'm going back to your actual assignment now. There's no specific scenario for this, don't forget. You are required to write a literature review on the research proposal of a topic of your own choice. So again, you need to determine the research you're going to do, what the proposal is that you're going to do. And what I've suggested is that once you've decided on that, send it to me with your reasons and why you're going to do it. Yeah. If you'll do that first, I can then go back to you and say, yeah, that's great, that's a good proposal, and then you can start to do your review from there. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you've got to decide on what the topic is that you're going to research into first. Then tasks 1 and 2. Tasks 1 is a fairly small one. It's only a Word document you need to produce, covering these bits in here. Task 2 is the main part of that. It's presenting that proposal presentation. After you've done your literature review, you're required to present a research proposal explaining the aims and objectives of your research, as well as explaining the method. So once you've sent it to me and I've said, yeah, that's okay to use, the next bit you should then read the material, yeah, and provide the citations using the Harvard referencing system, which we just covered, yeah, and then you actually produce a presentation that will last for approximately 10 minutes. Yeah. A copy of your slides, yeah, and an evaluation form. So basically, you need to build yourself a PowerPoint. And I mentioned this on Monday. I didn't go into any detail, but to give you some idea, if you're doing a presentation, it takes roughly 2 minutes, maybe more sometimes, but an average of around 2 minutes per slide. That's for you to bring the slide up, read out what it says, and then add the bits that you need to add to it. Yeah, what you're going to discuss about it.
Email. Yeah. I should explain with my voice.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I should explain about that with my voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And those, you probably need no more than about, what, 5 slides, 5 or 6 slides, 8 at the most, that will cover a 10-minute presentation. Yeah. So it's an explanation of your subject area and why you're using that question, what research method you're going to use, the challenges you're likely to face in the research, and your reflections on your learning techniques to complete the research project. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4 issues, yeah, that you will need to look at. So you'll need 1 or 2 slides to cover each of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, like I said, the first stage is to decide on your research project what it's going to be. Send me the information on what you propose to do, and then I'll respond to that until we've got a clear reference on what you need to do. Once you've done that, you can then do your literature review, which will be a Word document. Once you've done that, you can move straight into putting your presentation together of why you've chosen this subject, why you're going to research it, the challenges and the reflections on the learning techniques that you've used to complete the research project. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to go any further into that now, because it will present, until we've got some work together, it will probably present too much for you. So what I would suggest is, the first operation, like I said, is send me your research question and let's have a look at that and agree it first. And once we've agreed it, then you can continue with the other tasks. Okay.
Okay.
The material is on the Moodle if you want to go into the Moodle and have a look. This recorded session will be on Moodle, and you can also access that again as well. And I will wait to see what you've got to send me, and then we can do that by email. Yeah. So once you've got something to do, just email it to Phil at UK Versity Online, and I'll pick that up. Is that okay?
Okay.
Superb. I will thank you for your attendance this morning. Have you got any questions for me before we close?
No.
You're okay? You're happy with that? Superb.
Yeah.
And then I'll wait to hear from you with your research question.
Okay.
Okay, Daniel. Thank you for this morning. Bye now.
Thank you.